Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the RICA Mortgage Broker Industry Council online engagement session. It's one of many opportunities stakeholders will have to engage with the Industry Council moving forward. My name is Brian Dewey. I am the Communications and Connections Manager here at RICA, and I will be the host of today's engagement session. Now, before I pass things off to the Industry Council Chair, I just want to briefly cover how the session will unfold. First, the Chair will go through a brief presentation outlining the Industry Council, its activities and priorities going forward, and this will be followed by a question and answer session. If you have a question for the Industry Council, you can ask at any time using the Q&A window. You'll see the button to open the window at the bottom menu of your screen in Zoom. If you have Zoom in full screen mode, you may have to move your cursor to the top of the screen to make the menu appear. When the presentation is concluded, I will ask the Industry Council Chair your questions. Please note, this is a curated Q&A session. If you have a question that falls under the jurisdiction of another Industry Council or the Board of Directors, please save that question for the next online engagement session for that Industry Council, or send your questions to that body's email address, which you can find on RICA's website, along with recordings for the other Industry Councils that have already had an online engagement session. Your question may have been answered in those sessions. Please also note that I may not read out your question word for word. If there is more than one question relating to a particular topic, I will ask the question related to the theme of those questions. If your question contains unprofessional language or contains defamatory language or misinformation, please note that I will not read your question. Now, with that housekeeping out of the way, and without further ado, I will pass things off to Gord Appel. He's the Chair of the Mortgage Broker Industry Council. Welcome, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. And thank you to everyone for attending this morning. Appreciate your time, and I hope that you find this valuable. So just a quick overview of how this call will go. I'll show you the agenda here. So we'll start with some things to keep in mind. We'll move on quickly to Industry Council member introductions, Bill 20 and the Industry Councils, the role of the Industry Councils, Industry Council activities, Industry Council priorities, and then we'll move on to the questions. So things to keep in mind. We are here to hear from you. So this is a really important element of self-regulation. The self in self-regulation in this instance refers to you as licensed mortgage brokers and agents. So we're here to hear from you. This is an engagement session. We're not just here to tell you what we're doing and what decisions are being made. We're here to hear your ideas. What issues should the Industry Council be discussing? What trends in the industry may have an impact? How should the Industry Council be regulating? And we are a self-regulating body. So let us know what you think. Even if you put a comment in the place where we've indicated you to ask questions, we will see it after the sessions and we'll take it into consideration as we discuss issues and set agendas for our next meeting. RICA also has a public mandate. RICA exists to protect consumers who use the services of real estate, mortgage, property management, and condominium management professionals. Every decision we make must be made with the consumer in mind. So the makeup of our council is that there are 5 members. 2 members from the public who are appointed by the Minister of Service Alberta, and 3 licensees from the mortgage broker sector elected by the mortgage broker sector. So we'll stop sharing the screen right now and we'll go through the Industry Council, or we'll go member by member and have them introduce themselves. So Guy, because you're first next to me, I will start with you.
Good morning, everyone. Privileged to serve on this council. I enjoy it, working with a bunch of good fellas. My background is major project management in the oil and gas industry. And I've retired from that. My new life now is, well, we have been doing it for a while, is a mid-sized home building construction company and operating some revenue property. So it feeds in nicely with the mortgage industry. And thirdly, we run some cattle on a ranch as well. So we're sort of a broad-based view from the public sector. And I sort of view myself as a a client with these three other gentlemen and try to put some input from there from the public perspective. Thanks.
Thank you, Guy. Your perspective is definitely valuable on the council. Clarence, let's go to you next.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Clarence with the Mortgage Group. I'm a mortgage broker with Summit Mortgage. I've been in the industry a very, very long time. This whole committee has been so exciting, so much fun, talking about the mortgage industry at such a high level with some terrific individuals. The RECA staff are so professional. And I think that these types of things are so good for our industry, because we want to also know from you folks, the industry, you know, if we're on the mark, if we're off the mark, to engage and to get your feedback. So I'm very, very excited, and I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank everybody for checking this out. So thanks, Gord.
Thank you, Clarence. Appreciate having you here as well. Paul is has a dual role. Maybe you can just sort of touch on that.
Sure. Thanks, Gord. Good morning, everyone. I echo what my handsome friend Clarence Lee just said. I'm Paul Jackley. I'm with Qantas Mortgage Solutions, and as Gord mentioned, I also sit on the board, the RECA board as well, and on the industry council. So that's it.
Very good. Thanks, Paul. And last, certainly not least, Nkem.
Morning, everyone. My name is Nkem Nyambula. I'm a management consultant, focusing on change management and business strategy. Excited to be part of this board and working with my fellow colleagues here. And I hope that this will be a fruitful journey for us all as we collaborate together. Prior to that, I worked with Deloitte & Touche under their human capital practice. So I hope to bring those skill sets here to ensure that this industry council moves forward. And we are here to represent you all. Thanks.
That's great. Thanks, Nkem. Well said. And so for those of you that don't know me, my name's Gord Appel, and I'm a practicing mortgage broker. I'm a managing broker. I've been in the industry for 17 years and managing partner at Axiom Mortgage Solutions, past president of AMBA, and you know, very, very active in the mortgage business. So you know, really importantly, this is our industry, and those of us that stood for election put our names forward because we view this as our industry, and it's something that we are passionate about and want to continue to protect and encourage the growth of. So with that, we'll get back to some slides, and we'll carry on with the presentation here. So the Real Estate Amendment Act came into force December 1st, 2020. The Act amendments were passed in June, but did not come into force until December 1st. And during that time, Service Alberta drafted new regulations and scouted for public appointees. RECA has had to run elections for all the industry councils. There was a modernized governance structure. The old governance structure was in place since 1996, and both the industry and the province have changed a lot since then. Industry councils are now responsible for regulating their own industry sectors and can make decisions for their own sectors instead of a single council or board making decisions for all sectors as in the past. This is similar to the structure of the Alberta Insurance Council. The industry council elections were held in November 2020, and they had 12 positions to elect across the industry councils. 3 people were elected for the Mortgage Broker Industry Council, as we've just discussed. Next slide. So the role of the industry council is in setting license requirements, setting education requirements, and setting the standards of practice. We determine what makes someone eligible to obtain a license and to continue to practice as a mortgage broker. The educational requirements are something that we're going through the review right now, but that is what courses or programs potential licensees are required to take to obtain a license, and what programs existing licensees are required to take in order to retain their licenses. The standards of practice, the Industry Council establishes the rules that mortgage broker licensees must follow in their day-to-day practice. The next slide. The Industry Council activities in the first 4 months. We've been very busy, but it has only been 4 months. So what we've been working on is initially the onboarding process, which was pretty onerous. It was all the board and Industry Council members underwent a multi-day onboarding process in December to educate and familiarize us with RECA. We learned about the industry, about regulations, about the history of regulation in Alberta, current and ongoing issues, and much more. We then did governance training. This was a legislated requirement. It involved a multi-day intensive governance training program and best practices review. Then we began our stakeholder engagement. Organizing this engagement session we are currently in, and it will be the first of many. We posted a strategic planning feedback form on RECA's website. We created Industry Council email addresses, and so if you want to reach us, it's mortgageic@reca.ab.ca. That, of course, can be found on the website. And we are developing upcoming broker forums. Also, very importantly, as we began the process of divestiture of education. So RECA must divest itself of licensing education by December 1st, 2022. There are multiple factors to consider in divesting education. Adopting a consistent framework for all the councils and the board to work with will ensure that everything proceeds smoothly. Our Industry Council, along with the board and other industry councils and administration, have been working to develop that framework. Proposed course provider requirements and examination blueprints are out for consultation now. Consultation on that framework recently went out to all managing brokers and potential third-party education providers. That consultation concludes on June the 11th. Managing brokers should give their feedback if they haven't already. Go to www.reca.ca and you will see the link for consultation on the homepage. I feel like this is okay, sorry, this is a continuation. Next slide. Sorry about that. We also provided the board with a list of current strategic priorities, key risks, and top attributes for a new CEO, which is an important function for the regulator to undertake at this time. Lastly, something that came forward to us as a council was the increased presence of condition-free offers. So the industry received some feedback, the Industry Council received some feedback from industry about an increase in condition-free offers coming across their desks. We've seen this happen in other jurisdictions, but it's relatively new to Alberta. We acted quickly within our new governance structure to create awareness of the risks of condition-free offers with consumers through an information bulletin, a consumer alert email, and a short digital marketing campaign. Moving on to our immediate priorities. We are consulting with the board on Industry Council election bylaws. And there's an ongoing stakeholder engagement program, consulting on education and any proposed rule changes, broker forums, formal strategic planning process in late 2020, and the board will want to adopt, the board will want input from the Industry Council. We're also reviewing opportunities to reduce red tape and working with other industry sectors to find synergies in improving the real estate experience for both licensees and the public. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to have other Industry Council engagement sessions. We'd like to encourage stakeholders to view or attend Industry Council sessions appropriate to them. They can register on the Industry Council web pages at www.reca.ca. Some of you are involved in other industry sectors, and I encourage you to view or attend these specific industry sessions as well. Please register on the website. And just for those of you that are here, I appreciate your attendance. Please take the time to encourage somebody else that is in the industry who isn't here to attend a future session. The more voices that attend, the more people that attend, the better our picture for the industry is, and the better we can ensure that we regulate accordingly. So that's an overview of what we have been working on. And now I welcome some questions, suggestions, and any other input you have for us. My fellow industry council members and I will do our best to answer your questions that are relevant to our industry council. Please recall that the RECA board deals with overall RECA administration issues, and I'm not able to answer these questions, but we must refer them to the board of directors.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. Looks no questions have popped in yet. If you have questions, make sure you use the question and answer pop out and let us know what you think. Even if you have a comment to make about anything you're seeing in the industry, remember that the Industry Council will see all comments and questions that come in for their consideration. But since nothing has come in so far, oh, there's one. So this question is, could you provide an example of red tape reduction being considered?
So that is a really great question. At this point, we have been asked to consider options for red tape reduction, and that occurred between our last meeting and today. So we actually haven't spent time as a council discussing it. We've spent time contemplating it as individuals. So to give you something that is being contemplated at this time, I can't do that. What I can tell you is that all things are available to us. And if you have specific suggestions you'd like for us to consider, then we are certainly happy to take that under advisement.
Great, thank you. Another question that came in is, well, I guess to do with the market here is, what kind of increase have you seen in, oh no, this one is for RECA. It's, have you seen an increase in mortgage associate applications over the last year? Like come for new licensees entering the industry, I suppose.
So I don't have specific sight lines on that. I can't answer that with any level of confidence, but we can take that question away and respond to you privately after that.
Let's see here. Oh, someone now is referring to you. You mentioned that we did an awareness campaign on non-conditional offers. They're just wondering what you think the issues with non-conditional offers are.
So what we found was that a lot of times it would cross a mortgage broker's desk. And if you have an offer that has no financing subject, but then the mortgage broker is looking to provide financing, the public is potentially at risk. The borrower is potentially at risk there because they've entered into a contract without financing secured and without the option to back out of that contract with because of a lack of financing. So this isn't something that, as the Mortgage Broker Industry Council, we can change on our own. So we consulted with residential and determined that the best thing to do here was to start an awareness campaign, re-advise licensees of their obligations. And so that's what we've done. We haven't seen, we have no metrics for determining how many occurred last year versus this year, but it was something that industry had brought forward to the council and said that they were seeing an increased number and had some concerns about the impact to the public. So we moved to make some changes there.
Great. Next question to do with education. What is your thinking or plans regarding increasing education and professionalism across the mortgage broker community, specifically for new brokers?
So the first thing that we're doing is approving the core competencies, and then the core competencies for education delivering, the delivery of education. So the institutional bodies that will be delivering education. From there, RICA is going to maintain ownership over the examination process so that we can ensure that the level of entry into the industry remains where it is and can increase over time. And that increase over time will come through consultation with industry. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there was a message that went out to managing brokers asking for feedback for things that are critical or important to them on an ongoing basis. We also have contemplated and are reviewing the licensing structure. So there is an opportunity now to have an associate broker who has a higher level of education versus simply having agent and broker. There is an additional license category that we are contemplating and look to implement depending on the consultation.
Great. I think your answer actually answered a few other questions that have come in since then.
I like to be efficient, so I'm doing my best here.
Me too. Another question is about the current RICA education. They're wondering if the current courses that RICA offers will be updated prior to it being divested. Are we updating the current course?
No. To be efficient, it's a one-word answer. But you know, the purpose here is that RICA is getting out of education. So we are going to divest ourselves of education, and it doesn't make a lot of sense right now to do a rewrite to then divest. What we feel is important, though, is to ensure that the quality of the entrance to the industry is very high. And so that's where the approval of the core competencies is critical. The delivery of the education will be left to the education providers.
Great. To add on to that as well, if any of you have any suggestions for how to improve education materials, you can use the Mortgage Industry Council email address that was mentioned earlier, mortgageic@rica.ab.ca, and let the Industry Council know.
And I'd just like to throw it to Paul Bojakli for a moment here. I think he has a little bit of additional color to add.
You know what, Gord, thank you. I was actually just going to mention what Brian has said, was that we welcome any type of suggestions, any ways to improve it. Definitely send us an email. We will look and consider everything. So we appreciate everything that's thrown our way. So
absolutely, the self and self-regulation is alive and well, and we would really like to hear from you.
Great. A few more education questions I think you've answered. There's a question about complaints. They're asking, why does a complainant not have to share their name? I think I can field that one, in that there are a number of ways that people send complaints to RICA, and some of them include anonymous complaints, especially as they relate to fraud. Or if we just are sent information. But if there's an official written complaint put in, then the complainant must give their name. Have you considered any requirements for relicensing education or going forward in 2022, 2023?
It is very much on the discussion table, but we haven't come to any conclusion on that. Just given the priorities at this moment, it has been moved to a future meeting. We see that there is a lot of need for that, but again, the priority is to divest education and to get the groundwork for a new CEO and accomplish some of the other higher priority items. but it is on the discussion table. And yes, thank you for asking that question. It's been some time since we've had some continuing or relicensing education.
Great. Question about the government. So what can you clarify the government's role in this new governance model?
So the government's role is one of approving what we are doing for the next couple of years, actually. So, you know, certainly we are moving forward in creating our new standards of practice, the divestiture of education, continuing education, reviewing licensing requirements and licensing structure. But ultimately, because of where we've come from as an industry and as a regulator, the government, the Minister of Service Alberta, is approving the decisions that we are making. The final decision, the rubber stamp, lies with the government or with the Minister of Service Alberta.
Great. Do we have a target date for publishing those core competencies that you mentioned, so that the education providers can, you know, start applying to be third-party education providers? Do we have, what's our timelines on that?
We don't have a specific timeline for publishing of the core competencies, but if there are any education providers that are looking to, you know, ramp up or get ready, we are absolutely ready to hear from them and ready to start communicating with them where we're at and working with them to accomplish that goal. So no specific target date, but the committee has been struck and has had a couple of meetings. And this is something that isn't exclusive to the mortgage industry. It's education in general. So all of the different industries and industry councils are dealing with this. So we struck a committee that is inter-industry and allows us to coordinate to the betterment of the entire industry and to ensure that all the courses have similar core competencies and have equal opportunity within the marketplace.
Great. Lots of comments coming in, not necessarily questions. Well, some of the chatter before this meeting that we heard was around those rule changes that RICA proposed back in 2019. Do you have an update on the status of those proposed rule changes that sort of went on pause with all the government governance change?
They're on pause. And the reality is that we are going to do a fulsome review of all of that. The conversation is actually scheduled for our next industry council meeting, which I believe is 2 weeks away. I don't have my calendar open at this moment, but that is on our agenda for the next meeting to do a review of those proposed changes.
Great. We have we just got an update on those new licensees. That was one of the first questions that was asked. There have been 278 new mortgage broker licensees applications since October 1st, 2020. That's the beginning of our fiscal year. So 278 new people joining since October in an industry of about 2,200 people. It's that's a strong amount of new people, I would say.
Brian, do you have any perspective on what that would have been in a, call it, normal year? It'd be about half that in a normal year, or do we know?
I'll have someone look into that right now. I think off the top of my head, but I do know that we've seen a lot of new people join in all of our industries this year and last year. Hopefully someone will get that to us. There's a few comments about social media as well, and sort of advertising. They're wondering if this industry council is going to reintroduce advertising changes or have a look at advertising rules.
Of course we will. You know, all things are on the table and up for review. If there are specifics within that you'd like to see reviewed, certainly put that forward. Send us an email to mortgageic@rica.ab.ca. Again, if there's something specific you'd like reviewed, but everything is available and everything is going to be given a review. And if we feel that there are some changes that need to be made, of course, we'll consult with industry and we'll move to make those changes.
Great. As everyone here knows, probably the stress test, there was changes made to the stress test recently, or coming into effect on June 1st, I believe. Is there anything this industry council can do about that?
No. That's federal regulation. That's outside of our purview. One thing that I'm really proud of as an industry, though, is our ability to adapt. We play the level playing field incredibly well because the value proposition of the broker is service, choice, and advice. We have the opportunity to really stand out in this environment. And something that I would encourage all of you to consider is that when the rules change, it makes an expert more valuable. And that is truly what we are as mortgage brokers, licensees. We've got a license that proves that we actually can give advice on mortgages. And the rules just changed, so it's our opportunity to get out there and give advice. But no, we can't make an influence on that.
Great, thanks. I have an update on those numbers. So in a normal year, we've already exceeded what we would have for new applications in a normal year. So we've already exceeded it in the first half of the year. So
wow,
pretty good. No new questions coming in that I'm seeing. Let me just see if we have any pop in for just now. I think that's, yeah, so no more questions coming in.
So sometimes when you're in these sessions, the questions don't come to mind, and as soon as the session ends, it does. And that's very normal, and we would encourage you to still pose your questions. There's many ways to contact us. The simplest way is to send an email to mortgageic@rica.ab.ca. So please, at any point, send us an email. Let us know if it's a comment, if it's a complaint, if it's a question. We're open to all of it, and we'd love to hear from you.
Great. Yes, this, as you said at the beginning, this is all about hearing from not only licensees, but from all of our stakeholders, and letting us know what's going on out there. Let us know what you think could be improved. What areas should the industry council be looking at? All things for the industry council to consider discussing at their meetings. As you said, it's self-regulation where one of the very few industries left, especially the mortgage and real estate industries, that are self-regulated in the country, and it's a privilege that we only get to keep if everyone takes it seriously.
100%. Well said.
Yeah, get in there. Let us know. Let the industry council know what you think, and participate, and then the industry can only be better for it.
And please reach out to your colleagues. There are a number of people that you know that didn't attend today, and encourage them to attend the next one. This is our industry. It impacts us all. If you make your living in this industry, have your voice heard, and we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. So if no more questions have come in, we can wrap things up early. As the chair said, all of the questions will be looked at by the industry council afterwards, and we'll respond to you if there's to your comments. If you put them in, we'll respond to you personally after the session in the next few days, possibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a recording of this this event here will be available on the RICA website later today. So with that, I'll give you the final word, Mr. Chair.
Thanks to everyone for attending today. You really do have a great industry council. The gentlemen that are on this call with me are very engaged and are working hard to the betterment of our industry. And I think we will continue to do you proud as an industry. But what we really need from you is engagement. We want to hear your voice. So please reach out in any way that you can and attend future engagement sessions. Thanks again for attending today and giving us some of your morning. And I'm glad we were able to end efficiently and a little bit early so you can have some of that time back. Thanks again.